The will of King Alfred. I, King Alfred, by the grace of God, and on consultation with Archbishop Ethelred, and with the witness of all the council lords of the West Saxons, have been inquiring about the needs of my soul and about my inheritance which God and my ancestors gave to me, and about the inheritance which my father, King Ethelwulf, bequeathed to us three brothers, Ethelbald, Ethelred, and myself, that whichever of us should live longest was to succeed to the whole. But it happened that Ethelbald died, and Ethelred and I, with the witness of all the councillors of the West Saxons, entrusted our share to our kinsman King Ethelbert, on condition that he should return it to us as fully at our disposal as it was when we entrusted it to him. And he then did so, both that inheritance and what he had obtained from the use of the property we two held jointly, and what he had himself acquired. Then it so happened that Ethelred succeeded, and I asked him in the presence of all the councillors that we might divide that inheritance, and he should give me my share. He then told me that he could not divide it easily, for he had very often before attempted it, and he said that he would leave after his death to no person sooner than to me whatever he held of our joint property, and whatever he acquired. And I gave a ready assent to that. But it happened that we were all harassed by the heathen army. Then we spoke about our children, that they would require some property, whatever might happen to the two of us in those troubles. Then we were at an assembly at Swinburg, and we then agreed in the witness of the councillors of the West Saxons that whichever of us should live longer should grant to the other's children the lands which we had ourselves obtained, and the lands which King Ethelwulf gave to us in Ethelbald's lifetime, except those which he bequeathed to us three brothers. And each of us gave to the other his pledge, that whichever of us lived longer should succeed both to lands and treasures and to all the other's possessions, except the part which each of us had bequeathed to his children. But it happened that King Ethelred died. Then no one made known to me any will or any testimony that the position was any other than as we both agreed with witness. When we now heard many disputes about the inheritance, I brought King Ethelwulf's will to our assembly at Langanden, and it was read before all the councillors of the West Saxons. When it had been read, I begged them all for love of me, and offered them my pledge that I would never bear any of them a grudge because they declared what was right, that none of them would hesitate either for love or fear of me to pronounce the common law, lest any man should say that I wronged my young kinsfolk, the older or the younger. And then they all rightly pronounced and declared that they could not conceive any juster title, nor hear of one in the will. Now that everything in it has come into your possession, bequeath it and give it into the hand of a kinsman or stranger, whichever you prefer. And they all gave me their pledge and signature that as long as they lived, no man should ever change it in any way other than as I myself bequeath it at my last day. I, Alfred, King of the West Saxons, by the grace of God and with this witness, declare how I wish to dispose of my inheritance after my death. I grant to Edward, my elder son, the land at Stratton in Trigg and Hartland, and all the booklands which Lothaia holds, and the land at Carhampton, and at Kilton, and at Burnham, and at Wedmore. And I beseech the community at Cheddar to choose him on terms which we have already agreed on, along with the land at Chewton, and what belongs to it. And I grant him the land at Cannington, and at Bedwin, and at Pusey, and at Hurstbourne, and at Sutton, and at Leatherhead, and at Alton. And all the booklands which I have in Kent, and at the lower Hurstbourne, and at Chiseldon, are to be given to Winchester on the terms on which my father bequeathed it, and my private property which I entrusted to Ecgwulf at the lower Hurstbourne. And to my younger son, the land at Areton, and that at Dean, and that at Meon, and at Amesbury, and at Dean, and at Sturminster, and at Yeovil, and at Crewkerne, and at Whitchurch, and at Axmouth, and at Branscombe, and at Cullompton, and at Tiverton, and at Milbourne, and at Exminster, and at Soothaswyrtha, and at Lifton, and all the lands which belong to it, namely all that I have in Cornwall, except Trigg. And to my eldest daughter the residence at Wellow, and to my middle daughter that at Kingsclear and at Candover, and to the youngest the estate at Wellow, and at Ashton, and at Chippenham. And to my brother's son Ethelhelm, the estate at Aldingbourne, and at Compton, and at Crondall, and at Beating, and at Beddingham, and at Burnham, and at Thunderfield, and at Eashing. And to my brother's son Ethelwold, the residence at Godalming, and at Guildford, and at Staining. And to my kinsman Osferth, the residence at Beckley, and at Rotherfield, and at Ditchling, and at Sutton, and at Lyminster, and at Angmering, and at Felpham, and all the lands which belong thereto. And to Ayleswith the estate at Lambourne, and at Wantage, and at Eddington. And to my two sons 1,000 pounds, 500 pounds to each, and to my eldest daughter and my middle daughter, and the youngest, and to Ellsworth 400 pounds to the four of them, 100 pounds to each. And to each of my eldermen 100 menkuses, and likewise to Ethelhelm and Ethelwold and Osferth, and to Elderman Ethelred a sword worth 100 menkuses. And the men who serve me, to whom I have now given money at Eastertide, are to be given 200 pounds, and it is to be divided among them, to each as much as will fall to him, according to the manner in which I have just now made my distribution. And to the Archbishop 100 menkuses, and to Bishop Esney, and to Bishop Werefirth, and to the Bishop of Sherborne. And there is to be distributed for me, and for my father, and for the friends for whom he used to intercede and I intercede, 200 pounds, 50 to priests throughout my kingdom, 50 to poor servants of God, 50 to poor men in need, 50 to the church in which I shall be buried. I know not for certain whether there is so much money, nor do I know if there is more, but I think so. If there is more, it is to be shared among all to whom I have bequeathed money, and it is my will that my eldermen and my officials shall all be included, and shall distribute it thus. Now I had previously written differently about my inheritance when I had more property and more kinsmen, and I had entrusted the documents to many men, and in these same men's witness they were written. Therefore I have now burnt all the old ones which I could discover. If any one of them shall be found, it has no validity, for it is my will that now it shall be as here stated with God's help. And it is my will that the men who hold those lands shall observe the directions which stand in my father's will to the best of their power. And if I have any unpaid debt to anyone, I desire that my kinsmen certainly pay it. And it is my will that the men to whom I have bequeathed my booklands shall not give it away from my kindred after their death. But I wish that after their death it shall pass to my nearest of kin, unless any of them have children. In that case, I prefer that it should pass to the child born on the male side, as long as any is worthy of it. My grandfather had bequeathed his land in the male line, not in the female line. If then I have given to anyone on the female side what he acquired, my kinsmen are to buy it back, if they wish to have it during their lifetime. If not, let it go after their death, as we have already stated. For this reason, I say that they are to pay for it, that they succeed to my lands, which I may give on the female as well as the male side, whichever I choose. And I pray in the name of God and of his saints that none of my kinsmen or heirs oppress any of the dependents whom I have supported. And the councillors of the West Saxons pronounced it right for me to leave them free or servile, whichever I choose. But I desire for the love of God and the good of my soul that they shall be entitled to their freedom and free choice. And I command in the name of the living God that no one is to harass them either by demands of money or by anything, so that they may not choose such lord as they wish. And I desire that the community at Damerham be given their title deeds and freedom to choose whatever lord they prefer, both for my sake and for Elflade and for the friends for whom she used to intercede and I intercede. And from my livestock let such payment be made for the good of my soul as is possible, and is also fitting, and as you wish to give on my behalf.